So our past, which is always has some impact on who we are today, will create some differences in each and every one of us.
Okay, let's go.
Hello, and thank you for joining me here at Coaching the Change. Before we start the show, I want to share my thought of today. I think you've heard or read how you surround yourself with people who are motivational, inspiring, good-natured, happy, and they're committed to life. You will find how those tendencies have a way of leaking onto you. So turn to your left and right and make sure that when you choose a friend, that person is someone who can lift you. But we already know this. This is nothing new. However, my thought is that maybe your friend looks for you for inspiration, even if you do not feel you're someone who's inspiring. I have worked in so many aspects of life, and if there's anything I have learned, inspiration comes in all shapes and forms. But since we're discussing people, my examples will be as such. For instance, President Obama. Is he inspiring? Of course. What he has accomplished in life is nothing short of amazing. Went to Harvard, prestigious Ivy school, goes into politics, becomes a senator, and then our first black president, as if the job itself was not already impressive. But what about the Mexican farmer who raised two daughters who were attending college, and he did this as a single parent? Or the single mom raising her kids while managing her business and maybe even going to dental school? Or the couple who does not want children and decides to travel the world? In my perception, they are all inspiring. Now, I don't want to be a farmer, and I like being a dad. However, the inspiration that despite the choices people make, we see the strength behind each effort. That is what I pull from these examples. And on that note, since we're talking about people, I want to keep my promise and remind you that this podcast is about coaching on the platform of mental health and providing information to improve who we are, one podcast at a time, step by step. So, as we all know, each one of us is different, but many of us share common traits. I, as a military veteran, will share the traits of other soldiers who experienced what I did, especially my fellow Rangers. However, did that other Ranger grow up in Compton like me? Or was he raised by two parents? Or is he the oldest of three siblings? Most likely not. So our past, which is always has some impact on who we are today, will create some differences in each and every one of us. Today, I want to discuss one of my clients who is trying to build her business. We've all built a business. That is where I come in as executive business coach. Now, at this time, you're like, what does this have to do with mental health? I get it. Be patient. What I could argue, though, and explain that as well, that I have more pressing information to share, but it does relate to mental health. And I will circle back and give you some reasons. But you see, as our sessions progressed, I learned something with her that was not quite right. We would review how her day performed, discussed her decision-making, customer interaction, etc. Now, I'm a pretty patient person, and I listened a lot, and I learned so much. And however, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist, but I am a person who will give you the guidance and path towards accomplishing your dreams by leveraging your strengths. That is what I do. Using the fundamentals of how you think and perform and act and so many other elements that I'm not going to get into today. But my job is to give her tools. But why is she interrupting me so much? This was our problem. Each time I'm talking, she cuts me off. And I'm thinking, you're paying me. So this started to bother me. Not because I felt insulted, but it was because, no, that's not it. I was bothered when I spoke. She tended to jump in and say what she wanted to say. But I noticed that she was not processing what I just said. So maybe whoever's watching this, if you have the same experience with somebody else, or maybe you're the person who does that. I don't know. So I put on my PhD hat and decided to do the research and learn more about this. Now I do realize I will learn about it one day in class because I am studying to be a clinical counselor. But I have this person in front of me right now today. We need to figure this out. She is paying me to help her, and this obstacle is in our way. And a quick side note, to get in it, when I did my application to get into the clinical school, they asked me to write a 500-page essay on why I wanted to be a clinical therapist. Well, I wrote about losing fellow military counterparts, and I talked about this. I'm constantly coming across clients that cross into the mental health challenges. That is above my pay grade as a certified coach. So, okay, let's get back to the client. Now, keep in mind, I have been having this client for many, many weeks now, and I know her pretty well. So, on my own time, I started researching on how to understand why. I wrote down all these things I was really suspicious of, all the elements of what she should do and the things she does. And upon reviewing, I learned that my client, she had chronic interrupting, which is basically, as it sounds, it's a behavior of someone who constantly interrupts you. I don't need a clinical license to define this. The challenge is, what do I say to her to help her understand and get through this? Again, she did not hire me to be her psychiatrist, and she is not paying me enough anyway. But I am who I am, and I got my medical license to help others. I became a coach to help others. So, again, I have the skills to learn and understand and how to do it. So when we discussed the situation, luckily she was very open-minded towards understanding what I had mentioned. I also discussed with her the level of excessive excitement, fear of forgetting, desire to be heard, and her impulsivity. Now, what I did not mention, and is very important to know, is that she could have ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But since I'm not a psychiatrist, I will not make that distinction. But the signs are there. The good news is that as an adult, she has more ways of managing this than a young person who will struggle with the ability to sit still or manage their self-control. We discussed some techniques, and she was pleased with the discussion. Oh, and the best part is, this all came full circle, some of the challenges she was experiencing with her business. I mentioned there was a relation. So with this new evolution, we started identifying some tools to help her manage some things. So, okay, there you have it. Another happy client. I have much more. But next time, I want to get into some coaching techniques that I use and some methods that I have created based on the years I have been doing this. So if you have anything or something you want to share, please email me at contact@Dr.Aaron.Bryant and or social media. I'll be happy to work with you, and I'm glad you guys are taking the time to listen. My name is Dr. Bryant. See you later.